So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Easy Conversations. Thanks a lot to everyone who listened to the last episode featuring the homie Matt and I. Hope you enjoyed listening to us share our thoughts on the Toy Story franchise from 1 to 5. And yeah, if you had any thoughts on that franchise, of course, send us a message and we'll discuss accordingly. But looking forward to going over that franchise again down the road. It's now for episode 188 of Easy Conversations. I'm extremely excited, of course, to be back in the studio virtually with the homie Matt. So what's up with the people?
What's going on, everyone? Hope you're having a great day right now. Eric, I'm super excited for today's episode. Super hot topic right now. I had a lot of fun discussing Toy Story on the last episode, and I think tonight or today we're going to have so much fun discussing this movie in particular. And without further ado, why don't you let the listeners know exactly what we're going to be talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah, very excited for me as well. So we're going to be going over the biggest movie that's just been released in theaters a few days ago at the time of recording. So Christopher Nolan's latest epic, The Odyssey, which is starring, well, who isn't it starring is really the better question there, because at every scene, it seemed like there's a new well-known actor, recognizable actor just popping up. I was always having a good chuckle or forgetting that this person was in there, so it was cool to see. But yeah, The Odyssey, which is one of the most famous tales in literature, right? The Odyssey and the Iliad are two very well known epics, and this one covers the character Odysseus, who, coming off the Battle of Troy, his journey home to return to Ithaca, where he was the king, is the king, and is just trying to get home to his wife and son, played by Anne Hathaway and Tom Holland, respectively. And yeah, just obviously a bit of background on the movie. This had been super hyped for a long time. Anything Christopher Nolan announces and then releases will be highly scrutinized. You may recall last time we did an episode on Christopher Nolan's latest movie, Oppenheimer, I questioned whether it would live up to the hype that everyone was kind of going into it with. Again, star-studded cast. He had just come off a few, in my opinion, misses with Tenet and Dunkirk. So he obviously delivered and then some with Oppenheimer. And honestly, despite the last success with Oppenheimer, I kind of still had some of those feelings. I don't know about you, Matt, but there's a lot of hype going to Odyssey. And, well, I'll just say, I love this movie. I thought it was amazing. Just an amazing movie that is the cinematic experience of the year so far. It's 100% must see in theaters. I saw it in IMAX, and it was well worth the price of admission. Really happy I did see it in IMAX. But yeah, just what we got to witness on the screen. I hadn't seen too many trailers, and it was really, really special to get to see these big set pieces, the scale of it all on the biggest screen possible. So yeah, opening thoughts, I guess, just showed my hand. Big fan of the movie, but I'm looking forward to getting into it really in the nitty gritty. Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I went into it with a lot of expectations, Eric, like seeing everyone review the movie before going to the theater, and like I had high expectations. I went to see it at the IMAX as well. And at the end of the day, when the movie ended, I thought it was amazing. I'll just say it right now. I thought the movie was spectacular. Gotta see it on the big screen. That's like, I just texted my mom that like 2 minutes before recording. I'm like, you gotta go to the theater to see this movie. It was an epic in every sense of the word. Yeah, I can't wait to like dissect, like all the moments in the movie that were epic. But like it was just a magical movie and experience at the theater. Yeah, for sure, Eric, well said, theater experience of the year. Yeah, Mackenzie and I both loved it. We came out of the theater, we're like, wow. And yeah, we'll get into it after. But yeah, my initial thoughts, Eric, same as you. I loved it.
Glad to hear that. I did not look at any reviews beforehand. I didn't want to have any bias going into it, seeing what people had rated it. I made up my number when I walked out of there, and then went on Letterboxd and saw it was around the same as what most people were giving it there. But so yeah, let's get into the movie now itself. Long movie, almost just under 3 hours. Wouldn't have hated if it was longer, honestly, which is a good sign. But I will say though, and this was mirrored by a few of my friends that we went together to see it with, thought the start was a little slow and was kind of even thinking like, okay, is this gonna be as good as I'm hoping or thinking it's gonna be? But it was, for me, it was like the first 40 or so minutes was setting the scene you have a lot of classic Nolan storytelling techniques in there, right? It's always jumping between the Odysseus recalling the events of his travels in the war, and then you're cutting over to Tom Holland and how Telemachus and how he's dealing with the pressure and stress of being at home waiting for his father to return. You have all these suitors who are trying to get his mother's hand, like played by Robert Pattinson being one of them, kind of slimy characters hungry for power. So going back and forth between that and then even flashbacks of Odysseus in Ithaca and what his dynamics with other characters look like the blind man there who's kind of I forget his role exactly, but kind of a trainer or yeah, a wise man in the city, and then his dynamic with Robert Pattinson, like how they have a rapport with Sinon as well. And a lot is kind of just thrown at you to begin with, and it's not 100% clear. Like even the Zendaya character, not really sure who she's supposed to be. You have Charlize Theron in there, like just a lot of cuts really quickly, which made for maybe a little overwhelming at first, but it was nice. And I'll also say I can't wait to I'm going to see this in a theater 100% again. Like this is for me a must see twice in theaters. How it all comes together at the end was a good payoff, but at the start I was a little unsure. Did you have any of those thoughts, Matt, watching it, or were you kind of dialed in from the start?
No, for the first like 40 minutes to an hour, I was like, they're throwing a lot at the screen. I wish we had subtitles just for like the names that are quickly thrown at us. And
Agreed.
the jumping back and forth, I was expecting that because Nolan does that in most of his movies, and it's a good storytelling technique. Like it shaves from the running time actually, and you have this to shoot all he showed us to show all he showed us under 3 hours was pretty a feat of. It was very impressive actually. He crammed a lot in there. That would turn a lot of viewers off of the jumping back and forth, and not turn them off, but confuse them. But like you and I are seasoned moviegoers, so like we know like it's gonna settle down, and eventually we're gonna see some epic stuff. But yeah, I thought too it was a little like jumpy at the start, but it was also a promising start because I thought Matt Damon right away was excellent, and all the acting I thought was excellent, despite like recognizing every side character. It was still cool to see like they all did a great job, and I just want to highlight right now Robert Pattinson killed it in his role. He plays a great scumbag, and I want to see more of that. But yeah, like just when the movie starts, Eric, we're thrown into this world, and like, oh my god, like how awesome was the set of Ithaca and the costumes and just the look of the movie. I thought was 10 out of 10. Like I wasn't sure how the movie was gonna look, that like aesthetically wise, and I thought it was perfect. What about you?
Yeah, the people who were hating on the design going into this movie look like absolute morons right now, because not a single person is saying, "Oh, the Agamemnon design was so cringe." Like it was sick watching how all these characters look. It's been universal praise for those things: the design, the costume, the scale of everything, the look of the movie. Again, I'll say it again, like I don't know what you're looking at. If you're looking at this movie thinking it doesn't look great, I don't even know if I want to have a conversation with you about it, to be honest. But no, it looked unbelievable. The sets themselves they just felt real and lived in. No green screen, blue screen, whatever you want to call it. Again, for the ship sequences too, we'll get into some of those later, but it just felt like the characters and the actors were entrenched in that world, and it really showed on the screen for us as viewers. Awesome to see. No, big fan. And agreed with the acting at the start anyways. For me, highlights were Robert Pattinson, Anne Hathaway, Matt Damon. Those three really jumped out at me to begin with, like in the first 40 or so minutes. And the scene between Anne Hathaway and Matt Damon as he's saying, like, I'm going to go off to war, and if I don't come back, I want you to remarry. The scene where they're talking in their bed. Unreal acting, especially from Anne Hathaway. I thought she was incredible in this movie. Probably between her and Matt Damon were the best two actors, I would say, in this movie. And I really felt the emotion and the loyalty and just wanting to wait for Odysseus, who had been gone 20 plus years, right? So pretty crazy how she was able to convey and put that on the screen for us. It was unreal. So no, those three were the standouts. Tom Holland, like, overall, I thought he was pretty good, but he is still one that you have a hard time
Yeah.
disassociating with that like kind of goofy Spider-Man role, which I was hoping maybe there'd be a bit more of really straying us away from that, but he was good overall, but he didn't maybe reach those next level heights that I was kind of hoping he would. But it's very minor critique. Like he played the role as intended and was good. Now, the next part of the movie really and where I thought it picked up was the Cyclops Island. Right? Like that's where things picked up and not what I was expecting also at the look of the Cyclops. Like I had in my mind it's traditional horizontal eye, like the kind of crooked, almost vertical eye threw me off a little bit. How he was moving, how everything kind of played out in that cave did throw me off, but I did like how it was built up and he was kind of moving slowly, ate a couple of soldiers, and then crushed a power nap. I thought it was going to be an all-out slaughter of, like, a third of his men. But overall, though, like, that's where the movie picked up for me. What do you think about that?
Oh, I totally agree. I didn't know when the Cyclops was going to be in the movie, but he was definitely, like, in the first third, which I appreciated because that sequence was terrific. Just in terms of a sound and visual experience, that was movie magic right there, literally, because he used if not any, I don't think he used any CGI for that. And you could tell, like, the camera tricks, no CGI.
No CGI. Actually, the Cyclops was animatronic, so not an actor.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And
No
I'm sure
CGI.
a couple shots, too, they had a guy dressed up as a Cyclops and, like, had camera techniques. So that Nolan made, an epic movie that you didn't think could be made, although he had an unlimited budget probably, but, like, that's all sets and practical, like you said, Eric, before, no green screen. That's insane.
Yep.
It's a towering feat, and I think he'll be justly rewarded at the Oscars for that. But the Cyclops sequences, I think a lot of the audience members, too, like, we were waiting for that, and then when it happened, we were like, everyone was quiet, and, like, the theater was shaking because it was so loud. And it was like a horror movie for me. It was awesome. Even, like, the first, I was right away had goosebumps, Eric. Just the first scene of the movie, or one of the first scenes when Sanon gets, like, speared to the Trojan horse. Like, those Trojans were scary. And, like, when he gets killed, like, the spear and the arrows, like, that was, like, to me, I was like, holy shit, this movie's pretty vicious off the bat. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how Nolan would go with the violence aspect, but it was pretty savage movie. It's maybe his most violent, and I don't, like, there's quite a few swear words, too, so it was more adult than, right away I was, like, impacted by the violence, and that was a cool scene with the horse at the beginning, but then the Cyclops is really the first side island that the boys get to, where it's like, oh shit, like, they've been warned by that guy, like, you don't want to keep going this path. Mm-hmm. They did, remember when they were in Troy, and they touch upon, like, Odysseus doesn't want to follow Agamemnon. He wants to take his own route. Like, I'm not familiar with the Odyssey, Homer's The Odyssey, so I don't know how faithful this movie is to it. But, like, I thought it was kind of weird that he wanted to do his own thing. Again, they kind of touch on that at the end because does he actually want to get back home? But
exactly.
I don't know. That was there's a lot of and we'll get into that at the end, like the themes of the movie. But I just thought it was weird to like put his crew in peril like that and take his own way. Anyways, we'll get into that later. But yeah, the Cyclops, one of the highlights of the movie. I like how, like, it doesn't last just like an hour or so. Like, he locks them in their cave, then they got to wait them out. Then a few make it out each time the rock closes. Like, that was cool. The scene where it's like, no, don't. We're gonna be trapped in here if we kill him. Mm-hmm. So that was cool. But yeah, big Cyclops fan over here, and it looked kind of creepy in like a Gollum way, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, love that stuff, Eric.
But no, I like the point you made that we're for sure gonna touch on it more there. But it's why did Odysseus not want to just come home right away? Like, that was also confusing to me too. But it all comes together later. And the point I want to make here is that this movie, while it does feature a lot of action, which again in the past I think you've been somewhat critical of Nolan when it comes to directing action sequences, it wasn't an all-out war movie a la Troy where there's constant fight scenes and you're seeing these feats of strength. Like, a lot of, like, the sacking of Troy, for example, sure, we do see a bit of it, but that's not the focus of the movie. the end also is probably where we get the most action, but even at that,
Hmm.
it's not that much. And like I wanted to see like Agamemnon, who when those gates opened at Troy, literally
Oh,
Darth Vader standing there about to, I thought he was gonna mow down Trojan soldiers, but we didn't even
yeah,
see him, I don't even think, lift a finger the whole movie. So it was
yeah.
more about the themes, and as we get really the answer at the end, Zeus's law, what that means, right? And the guilt of taking advantage of someone's hospitality, not treating people the way
Hmm.
you're supposed to, even though you're at war, though, which was somewhat surprising to me. But I guess it's just the way
Hmm.
they went about it, that the guilt and the
Hmm.
what have I done to reach my end goals kind of thing. Like I don't really like how I
Yeah,
carried myself to get to where I wanted to kind of thing. And in my mind, like there's a lot of mirroring with Oppenheimer there too, right? Like the realization of this is what I've done really, and I didn't really think it
yeah,
would be this way kind of thing. So if you're looking at
yeah.
this movie for like an all-out action epic war movie, it's probably gonna fall short in that regard. But the
Hmm.
themes and what's under the surface, and even pretty well explained, honestly, like make it, in my opinion, even better than just a standard like, okay, I'm gonna see a 45-minute fight scene here. I thought that's another reason that elevates this movie above those others, and only few directors, and Nolan is one of them, can execute on that. At least there is like a nice payoff. Like I'll compare this to Dune 2, right? Like that's a criticism you could have of it, is that, oh, even at the end it's not this Helm's Deep battle. That's not the point of the movie.
That's true. Yeah.
And another Dune 2 comparison, like for me this is the most cinematic movie I've seen since Dune 2 in the
Okay.
theater, for sure. And there's actually another one-to-one parallel, I would say, with a scene that's movie magic. I'll talk about later, but
Okay.
oh yeah, just epic stuff. Now, if we want to keep it moving on the island hopping, a lull in the movie for me was the giant island. I feel like it
Yep.
didn't really do much for me, especially since we were coming off the Cyclops, which was a cooler giant in itself.
Hmm.
It maybe just went to show that, okay, we had heavy losses at this island kind of thing, right? Like, what did you think of the giant
Yeah.
island, and then the next one after that too, if you want to tee that one up, which I think is up your alley.
Yeah. I just want to go back to, like, you said a lot of good stuff there, Eric, and maybe the first 40 minutes wasn't paced the way we wanted, but everything in the first 40 minutes was there for a reason, and it comes back to explain the ending, which I love.
Hmm.
And it could just be as simple as him like strumming his bow before shooting the deer and saying like, I'm giving it a chance, and then he says in a fight, and then the guy's like, yeah, but you're hunting right now. But it doesn't matter to Odysseus, right? That's his mindset, and that explains the whole movie, honestly, like the regret. But before we get to that, the second island with the giants, I thought was maybe the weakest part, but it does, like, they lose two ships basically, so you can
Yeah.
explain that, like they're down to one ship now and they lost a lot of men. Maybe the Cyclops Island could have done the same thing, and we could have skipped the giants, who are totally like looked badass, but who are they? They offer no explanation. So yeah, I thought too that could have been, they could have just lost men and ships another way. But then it leads to them like kind of keep on circling the island and reaching the house of Cersei, the sorceress, I guess, like played by Samantha Morton, who's awesome. That was bone chilling, Eric, terrifying. When they were like choking on their food, oh my god, I was like, what is going on right now? And then she's metamorphosing them into like pigs. Awesome. And it was sad when all the pigs were following it. It was kind of like, oh my god, no. Yeah, I thought that was a true moment of terror, Eric, and like something I wasn't expecting from Nolan. What do you think of the Cersei sequence?
Oh yeah, like we're talking about horror with the Cyclops. Like this was the true horror sequence of the movie, right? And it's got people talking and maybe speculating that Nolan's next direction will be a horror movie, which honestly, based off this, I would love to see, because those transformation scenes, like clay molding them into clay pigs, was
Yeah.
disgusting. Like that was a vile scene, and was one of those like I'm locking in, eyes glued to the screen scenes where you couldn't look. You wanted to look away, but your body had other thoughts. Like you had no choice
True.
but to witness these atrocities on the screen. It was really cool to see. Glad it obviously worked out in his favor in that he got to have his men back, because I wasn't sure. I'm like, okay, is he now gonna be all alone here, and this is how he
Yeah.
loses all his men. They're just pigs now for the slaughter. But that was an amazing scene, and it kind of again gives more insight into what these men are like. And Odysseus, while he may think he's different, at the end of the day, they're all the same kind of thing, right? He may be a tad smarter, but had he succumbed to his not intuition, but just primal instincts, like he would have been a pig just like the rest of them, right? So it was an amazing scene, good dialogue between Circe and Odysseus, and one of the standout islands for sure. So I was a big fan of that, and yeah, definitely one of the creepiest scenes of the movie for sure.
For sure, like when she's like putting her hands down their mouths and twisting the shapes of their new noses and ears. That was gnarly. I like that. Like Odysseus at first, his men kind of like, all right, you're staying with the ship. You don't have a choice. And then he rescues them, and then right away it's like, all right, you're the man in charge. We're gonna go where you want. Point taken. Like right away, he lets them alone, and they almost all die. So it's kind of funny that he saved their asses, and now they're like, all right, you can lead again now. I like Odysseus' right-hand man, Hamish Patel's character, Eurylochus. I don't know how you say his name, but Hamish Patel, like his right-hand man, he was great, I thought. And,
he was.
Saved his bacon in Troy. That guy was good, and you get to know more of the crew too, like their faces, and you kind of like bond with them as they're going years together, right? So it's kind of cool. Big fan too of the next like pit stop they do on like the land of the dead, basically. What was that like part of Hades or something? I don't know what that was. I kind of want to read some of the Odyssey to find out more details on that, but I love that sequence. Like bring up the dead, basically. And the prophecy, not the prophecy, but like the visions and the foretelling of what's going to happen. That was creepy, and big highlight for me. Like Sinon was amazing in that scene. I'm not gonna lie. Like he was like, yeah. Like, what do you think of that storyline? The Sinon Antinous, like him taking his place to go to the Trojan War. I thought it wrapped up really nicely in the end with when he gives Robert Pattinson the stick. But no, I like that sequence a lot. What about you?
So there's two things there. One, yes, I did like the storyline for Sinon and Robert Pattinson's character. But again, one thing I'm looking forward to re-seeing when I rewatch this is, what was the justification and why did it slide that Robert Pattinson could just swap lots with Sinon? And because Odysseus saw everything go down, it was a bit, for me, confusing as to why he let this play out. And then they kind of said like, oh, Robert Pattinson will look after your wife and son and all of that there. But ultimately, he was a scumbag and I guess a coward who didn't want to go to war, despite saying to everyone else like, I really wanted to join your father, but he told me I had to stay back. I don't think that's how it played out, but again, on rewatch, it might be clearer. And yeah, then Sinon being, again, somewhat of a second son to Odysseus, I did enjoy. And the scene in Hades now was, again, a standout visually speaking. I want to say that was in Iceland where they filmed that. It did have a familiar look at Black Sand Beach. Looked so sick. The revelations there, the insight that he acquires. Again, this is the hero's journey, right? Where you encounter some supernatural forces that provide guidance and insight as to how things will play out. You acquire wisdom, and then you do with that what you will, for better or worse. And I loved also the conversation with Agamemnon, who up until that point hadn't said a word, and you're seeing this hulking like 6'6" unit of a man, and then he's the most like soft spoken, kind of somewhat weak sounding character. And hearing his backstory too is really cool, how his wife had plotted with her lover to have him killed. And his return, he's like, the homecoming I thought I was gonna receive was not what I got. And just flips expectations on you for what you have in mind in terms of war and the outcomes that'll come out of it. It does not play out that way more often than not, right? Like you think you're going to be showered with petals and just the adoration of the people. And was it the same day he got back, he got knifed in his own bed? So that was a little jump scare for me. The Lupita Nyong'o, like, lunging at him. I kind of jumped up. even though he said like I got killed in my own home and you saw it coming. It just, again, kudos to the editing and everything there. But no, the Hades underworld sequence was so good. Massive fan. Visually looked unreal. It kind of had some like Thanos when he gets the Soul Stone kind of vibes in a sense. But yeah, big fan of that. And then that leads to, and again, we're really just focusing on the Odysseus story here. At the same time, you kind of got Tom Holland going through his own journey, meeting up with John Bernthal and finding out about his stuff about his father. So I do like how you get the two perspectives to retell the story, and it was through John Bernthal's character that we hear about the fight at Troy and got to see those scenes. Like, that was epic, again, with the music as the doors open. I know I already touched on it there, but epic stuff. And yeah, so I guess that's it for the Hades. Then we got to the next island, which is the Sun Emperor's Island, where they're instructed to not eat any of his cattle, which of course these pigs couldn't help themselves. Like, most obvious reveal that they would, and they paid the price, which I don't know, did you want to touch on that island or skip forward after that?
No, I don't have much to say on that island, just that I knew that they would be so hungry that they couldn't. You know, it's that old like, yep, you can do any of this, but don't do this one thing. And of course they do that one thing, like any Brothers Grimm's fairy tale, right? Like Hansel and Gretel and all that. Like, don't do this. Just quickly on Agamemnon, like his expectations of being well received at home, and like did Christopher Nolan intentionally make Agamemnon super menacing and like a hulking figure, and then when he's revealed it's Betty Safdie playing him and his voice is so soft-spoken, did he do that on purpose because to subvert our expectations, just like Agamemnon had different expectations going home, but then it gets quickly thrown like a 180 and he gets killed? Did he do that on purpose, like make him look menacing, but when he's talking he's anything but, especially with like a softer voice? You know, I thought he was going to be more menacing, like maybe a John Bernthal, like someone that could be like a brother to him. But was that something he did on purpose to throw us off, just like Agamemnon was thrown off when he came back home? I just wonder that after the movie. There's a lot of little things like that I bet you when on rewatch, Eric, we're going to notice more. So that's all I want to add in. But yeah, we can skip over the Sun God Island. That was funny when there was one of the funniest lines was like, did you think I would not like you cooking this meat in this pit? Like, do you think I wouldn't find out? Like, Are you stupid? But
that was gold.
Or did you think the Sun God wouldn't find out if you ate quietly? Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, it was.
But then we get continue the story along, Eric. You're doing a good job.
Yeah, because Sun God Island, this next scene was one of my standouts for me, and again reminded me of the worm ride scene in Dune 2, which again is why the IMAX, I think, amplified this. That ship in the storm sequence was electric. With the lightning, it was, you could barely see a thing, but you felt, heard, and saw the waves, the struggle of the crew on the ship fighting for their lives. That was an immersive experience to me, where you really felt like, again, you were with the crew there. I think I leaned forward to like maybe see better, or just see like, where is this going? Like, is there going to be a whirlpool that's going to emerge? Is Poseidon going to roll up? Like, sea dragons, sea kings, whatever. Leviathan, anything was on the table for me. And we didn't even need those mythical creatures to pop up, because just the fury of the storm was so captivating on its own. And that's kudos to the way this was filmed. I don't know how this was filmed, honestly. It must have been on some contained set, but the fact that he was able to recreate this kind of environment and make you feel like you were right there, and making it barely visible just made it even better. So cool. When the ship split, they got separated. Again, it caught us up to where he was with Calypso now for all these years, which was another great reveal. Not surprising when we found out that he had been with her. It was 7 or 8 years. But my God, that scene for me was a for sure standout. What were your thoughts on that whole sequence in general? And then we can get into the Calypso stuff too.
I thought the shipwreck sequence, Zeus being mad at them sequence, was one of the highlights of the movie. Especially like every lightning bolt, every thunder roar, like we could feel it in our hearts at the theater, and like men going overboard, water going there, like it was so well edited and shot and presented to us. Like, this is Nolan's strength. Storytelling, visual storytelling, and making us feel like we're right there, like on the ship with Odysseus and his crew. Visceral experience. It was very like upsetting and harrowing, and oh my god, I loved it. I go see the movie again just to see, like, experience that sequence against the Cyclops. It was a full sensory experience. Sound, visuals, like goosebumps all over my body. It was amazing. It was the perfect amount of, like, it wasn't too long, it wasn't too short. It was beautifully done. Again, Nolan excels at this, and I can't wait. Like, the man's he can make 20, 30 more movies. Like, he doesn't make one every year, but he's only going to get better at making these sequences, and I can't wait to see the more stories he wants to tell, because he's a master storyteller, and he took the oldest story in the world and showed it to us in 2026 like this, and I loved it, and it's because of these sequences that I loved it.
Yeah.
And a big highlight for me, that sequence, Eric.
So actually,
yeah,
we did.
And then he's. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we did skip another sequence before this too, which was like the sirens, and then the other little. It was like a three-headed dragon kind of in the caves there that kind of picked off a few of the crew members. I kind of wish we had seen that creature a little more, because I had seen pictures of a depiction of what that could look like, and it really did have more of a dragon look, whereas this was kind of like worm-ish, kind of King Kong-esque kind of thing, which was fine.
Yeah.
It was cool, but I wanted a little more of that. And the siren sequence, speaking of funny, was another funny scene where just seeing Matt Damon react to what he was hearing, and also, though, how that wasn't just a throwaway scene just to show, like, oh, they went through, like, a glade of rocks with a whirlpool and heard the siren song, but it did reveal more of his shame and guilt that going home will not give you the satisfaction you think you're going to get a la Agamemnon, and also reliving what he did at Troy that didn't sit well with him, right? So, awesome scene. I was a big fan. Then, of course, you had one who had to take the wax out, and that's another little casualty there. Would have been fitting if it was the Sean Avery character who did that. I feel like that guy would succumb to wanting to hear the siren song. But anyways, it was good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how. And it starts with him, like, in Odysseus and Calypso. He's retelling the story after remembering more, and now, like, we see how he winds up on her island, which is Calypso a Greek goddess? Like, do you know more about her? I don't really. She must be, right?
She's a goddess, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then he's eating the lotus plant. Okay, Eric, this is gonna be super random, but you might actually know what I'm talking about. The only knowledge I had of Odysseus and the Odyssey was because of an Arthur episode when I was growing up. Remember the cartoon show Arthur? There was an episode where they go through the Odyssey, and a segment where he's like, we were eating this plant and it made us forget for years and years. So I kind of knew that reveal already. But there's definitely, I don't know if you remember, an Arthur, the kids' TV show, guys, the Arthur episode where they do the Odyssey. And it's kind of funny, and that's what it reminded me of Arthur. In that episode, so I kind of knew. Yeah, go ahead.
I wish I remember that episode so I could be in this boat with you and reminiscing on that, but no, I don't remember that. But that's gold. Now I kind of want to watch that episode, honestly, but that's awesome. And of course, you don't need to specify Arthur. If you don't know Arthur, again, just sign off. Like, this ain't for you. But that's great. No, I didn't remember that. I mean, wasn't surprised when she said, "Oh, you've been here for 7 years there," but. Awesome scene with them. Maybe a bit like I guess plot convenience that he just goes out on the raft and then it brings him home kind of thing but it's a kind of another way of showing, like, when you finally let go of what's bothering you, you will get to where you're supposed to get kind of thing. Exactly. Could be it, right? So he was trying so hard to not get home, and then he was putting himself through these hoops endlessly at the cost of losing his entire fleet of men. But then when you finally just release and accept it, all right, this is what I've done, let's face the music, all right, now I'm home, and we're into the third act, which we can get into now, which I'm interested to hear what you think about it, because I'm seeing mixed reviews online, people saying it's their favorite part of the movie, others saying it lost them at the third act. But let's tee up the third act, Matt. What were your thoughts on how things transpired from the moment that he kind of returns, and you got even Telemachus as well, his journey home?
Myself, I love the third act. I think, and I'm just guessing here, I bet you the third act not really mentioned in Homer's The Odyssey, and it's very up to your interpretation. Like maybe the true story ends with him getting home and that's it. But I think I'm guessing Nolan took a lot of creative liberties with the third act, which is why a lot of people probably don't like it. But I loved it because I thought it was a really good conclusion to this journey we've been on for 2 hours or so. And there was a lot of cool action and redemption arcs, and his father saving the son, and the scene with the suitors all fighting Odysseus to me was epic. Like I like the third act. I bet you that it's been controversial because that's where Nolan took a lot of liberties and did his own thing, which I had no problem with because I thought it was very enjoyable. What about you, Eric? Third act, what are your opening thoughts on it?
Yeah, I loved it. Honestly, I was a huge fan. That's where the meat of the action transpired. Also, you finally get everything comes together, all the reveals about what has been haunting Odysseus as to why he didn't want to come home, violation of Zeus's law. Finally revealing who Zendaya's character is, which they say it at the beginning of this movie when his first interaction with her and Calypso asks him, "Who are you talking to?" and he says Athena. So it's literally said at the beginning. It didn't click for me. But then at the end, when you're getting the recalling of the sacking of Troy and the beheading of Zendaya's character, Athena, and the Athena statue, it all clicks. Great storytelling, in my opinion. And then, yes, the return home, the reunion of the father and the son, which for me didn't really land emotionally anyways. It was great to see, but I felt like maybe there was a bit more and maybe more breaking down that could have happened on either end, right? Like Tom Holland finally meeting his father and then Odysseus finally meeting his son as an adult. Maybe there was more to it there, but at the same time, they have bigger fish to fry. They're in danger. There's Corey Hawkins, aka Dr. Dre, is just causing a ruckus at the dance hall, so we had to take care of business before they can get lovey-dovey there. But overall, the challenge that Penelope set forward for all the suitors, you knew it was going to be stringing the bow, and all of them trying. And then, again, you said at the start of the episode, Robert Pattinson playing this greasy, all-talk, cowardly villain was just perfect. Doesn't even try stringing the bow. I thought he was kind of going to come close, but he even says, like, you made your point, none of us can do it. Yeah. Now pick the best of the lot, basically. And then you have the beggar who... There's a funny line with Robert Pattinson when Odysseus, still undercover, says, like, I want to try. And then he goes, well, someone get this beggar out of here, or something like that. Like, who's letting these beggars in? It was a pretty... His line delivery was killing me, that whole scene. When, again, the other guy kept dropping weapons from the ceiling down. He's like, okay, spears, get the spears. Like, he wouldn't even get in the action himself. He was just prompting others to. Amazing. Anyways, getting ahead of myself here. But when he finally strings the bow and then dong, rings it, chills that scene, and then fires the shot. Unreal scene. I was fired up at that. What were your thoughts on the string of the bow sequence, all of that?
That whole sequence in like the dining hall there was amazing, Eric. Of course, they teed it up at the beginning of the movie. The bow, the shooting the arrow through the axes after stringing it. We got that. That was amazing. I like that. The tension, not the tension, but like the tension that Nolan built, the tension is the right word, before revealing Odysseus is amazing. Like, everyone trying it, everyone failing. Like, he built up to a really great moment and reveal. But Odysseus right away doesn't reveal. Like, I'm glad he didn't do this whole, like, take, like, his mask off and, like, I am Odysseus. Like, it was well done how, like, not slowly paced it well. It was, but how it escalated into an all-out brawl. I like that. Even like the juxtaposition of Telemachus fighting that guy upstairs in the weapons room while he's dropping weapons, and then Odysseus fighting like the horde. That was really well done. And yes, I've criticized Nolan's like fighting choreography in other movies. I thought in this movie it was perfectly done. Like the sword fighting was awesome. The brawl was awesomely choreographed. I have to give him kudos for that. And yes, Robert Pattinson, I was cracking up like, the shield. Get the shield, get the spear, get this. Like, you knew he wasn't lifting a finger. They showed at the beginning he didn't want to go to Troy. He got the Staples boy the stable boy to go in his place, and he's a coward. He's a craven. Didn't even want to try to strum the bow. He's not stupid though. Like, he plays to his advantage, right? And he only grabbed a weapon and he was ready to attack. Only one that is surrounded and he has his boys behind him. But yeah, great character nonetheless. Like, Pattinson played him amazingly. Just huge fan of that sequence. When the arrow goes through all the axes and like hits the wall and like is like thrumming, like vibrates, and then Penelope turns around. Like, that was epic. Yeah. Like, I kind of want to replay that scene. Dude. Would bear a lot of rewards and benefits to notice all these little things at the beginning. Like you said, Eric, too, some stuff was unclear for me too at the beginning, and rewarding on second watch, I bet you. No, that sequence is amazing in the dining hall. I keep repeating myself, but that, like, truly is.
Agreed.
And Odysseus rises like Boromir against the Aragorn arrows all in him. I'm like, man, this guy's like unreal, and he's like wounded, but doesn't matter. Nothing will stop him. He's driven with purpose, and it was amazing. Even the scene in the temple with the fake priests, awesome. When he pushes the guy's sword in his throat, that guy looked like such a scumbag too. Perfect casting. Looked like a brute, but that was awesome. And yeah, kudos to Nolan, man. That violence and carnage was very well done, and I didn't think he had it in him to do that, but amazing. And I'm going to talk about Troy too after all the Troy scenes, but yeah, the dining hall climax, it was shot beautifully, Eric, and I have no issues with it. I don't know what people would criticize about it, honestly.
Yeah, maybe that it's, I don't know if it has to do with like the historical inaccuracies or if it's just like too Hollywoody, right? Like, that's what I could see some people being not the biggest fan of, but for me it hit honestly. But you're right though, they didn't go the like Gladiator style reveal, which it did remind me of that. I thought we were getting that Gladiator moment when they're in the dining hall the night before the challenge, and when Odysseus gives Pattinson the lot back, like, that was a great scene. It was like, what is this? This isn't mine. Where'd you get this? It just kind of put him, like, his mind in a blender. That was a great scene as well. And then his conversation with Penelope, the maid that like washes his feet and then realizes it's him. Just the build up to it all was so well executed, earned, not rushed, and not dragged out either. It was perfect. And the last thing I want to highlight in there, which I laughed out loud at, was again, Dr. Dre saying, "Your Odyssey," gets the arrow in the throat. That just cracked me up. That character was such a dirtbag. Got what he deserved. Awesome stuff.
Oh, yeah.
For me, that's kind of wrapping on the movie would be all I have. But yeah, let's go back into the Troy sequences there that you want to get in on.
Like, them and the horse, Eric, was one of the best sequences in the movie, in my opinion. Like, in terms of tension and heroism, but like also, like, it was messed up, like how some of them were drowning, and like the way the horse, depending on how the horse is tilted. Let's just talk about the horse for a second. What a brilliant, first of all, brilliant strategic idea by Odysseus, and an idea that haunts him his whole life after. He basically tricked the enemy into letting him in their city, and then they can open the gate from the inside. Like, that's such a brilliant tactic. It's in pop culture now. Like, doing a Trojan horse is like tricking the enemy. Brilliant tactic. But again, not fair, and they kind of allude that Odysseus is all about being fair. When he's hunting, he gives his prey like a warning sound, and that's his ultimate shame, is the fact that he caused all this rape and pillage and carnage by tricking the enemy, and it was all his brainchild. Like they said, like, it's not just you that did all that. He's like, yeah, but I'm the one that had the idea to get into the city, and that's his ultimate shame, right? And again, you said it beautifully, Eric. Like, it's like an Oppenheimer. It's about a man who regrets and kind of ashamed of what he did, his actions. And I think Nolan, right away after Oppenheimer, he's like, oh, in the Odyssey, Odysseus is that same character, and I want to make a movie about him. And it makes sense because Nolan likes exploring those themes, honestly. And I saw a lot of other Nolan movies too in the Odyssey, including his second movie, Memento, where our main character is doing stuff to try to forget what he's done and kind of tricking himself into, doesn't want to, like in Memento, Leonard Shelby he purposely has given him false clues to continue his purpose and to forget that he might have been the one to orchestrate all his actions. Kind of like Odysseus is trying to not come home because he doesn't want to live with the consequences of his actions and doesn't want to remember, and he doesn't want to come home. So I saw a lot of different themes, and these are a lot of themes in Christopher Nolan movies, going back, even back to Memento. So really cool to see in the Odyssey. But sorry, I've been going off on a tangent here. But the Trojan horse was awesome. When the Trojan puts his sword through and pegs the guy's shoulder, and then as the sword's retracting, a guy wipes the blood off. That guy is MVP right there. Like, they see blood, they burn the horse. Awesome. I love details like that, Eric. It was such good attention to detail. When they come out of the horse, and I'm like, oh my God, what if the Trojan shoulders were positioned differently? Like, there's an all-out fight break out right away. Like, just imagine the possibilities. And as that gate is cranking open and the Trojans are flooding in, like, super tense, even though you know the gate's going to open, still super tense. It was like a moment, like, in Minas Tirith, when the trolls come in the gate first. Well, we see Agamemnon in his, like, Darth Vader armor, just standing there, chills through my body. I didn't know if he was going to run in first or he just stands there and his soldiers flood beside him. Amazing. So yeah, that to me, that sequence was a huge highlight. What about you, like the Trojan horse? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the Trojan horse, like, you just kind of think of these guys in that horse, which is being dragged like horizontally, diagonally, based on the dunes, vertically. Like, I thought some of them would be like having seasickness or horse sickness being in there, just throwing up and like having to hold it in together. Like the guy, when he got stabbed in the shoulder, like there's someone I think muffled his, put a hand over his mouth there so he wouldn't scream. Crazy scene. The horse looked great too, and like you said earlier as well, this horse is his atomic bomb, right? It's the exact same thing, which is this is what set off the events of the movie, really, and then obviously the guilt and shame that were associated with those actions there. But no, Troy, like you said, you know the gates are going to open. Maybe at a time I felt like, all right, let's speed up the gate opening, but with the music crescendoing to the hallway, Darth Vader hallway sequence with Agamemnon, it was just unreal to see. And again, the colors throughout that scene, like the red, black, a bit of yellow, it just looked cool. And throughout the movie, I found the orange of the ship against the dark blue, like navy blue of the sea, always looked amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And again, more props to Nolan there. And I thought we were gonna see more fighting at Troy, but we really didn't need to, because again, that wasn't the point, and it came across beautifully. And again, just talking about this movie right now, and with my friends after the movie, we stuck around for like a good amount of time just talking about every scene, and immediately makes me want to rewatch it again. And there's more to appreciate than at face value, right? I think, in my opinion, honestly, this is better than Oppenheimer. I would rate this, and more accessible to the masses. Like, this is a movie I'd rewatch over Oppenheimer any day. Not a shot at Oppenheimer. I just think this one has more mass appeal. I don't think that's that crazy to say.
Actually, I agree with that. For sure, more mass appeal. More of like an adventure story, point A, point B, like an adventure aspect.
Yeah.
And the saga of Troy was like tragic and sad. If you think of the movie from 05, Troy, it was lit better. It was more like Troy was more glorious, and it was a more they looked more powerful. But this version of Troy in the Odyssey was more like kind of realistic, and like the Trojans they looked menacing, but they were also like, it wasn't super like a golden age if you just looked at Troy itself, and it wasn't super glamorous and glorious. And when they said Troy's just vicious and brutal, and like the most violence I've ever seen in a Nolan movie, I believe. It was awesome. Like, I say awesome, like awesomely filmed and depicted to us. And when like the scenes at Athena's like temple when they slaughter, I think, like, to me in my head, Zendaya is a priestess of Athena. They slaughter her, so now Athena chose to reincarnate her body into her to shame Matt Damon's character. And she chose that soul to present herself on Earth and to like talk to Matt Damon.
Okay.
That's just my interpretation. And just his ultimate like seeing all of each other getting killed and then getting slaughtered. That's where he's like, oh my God, what have I done? And that's, like you said, it's this atomic bomb where it's like, it's when Oppenheimer realized they used it on Japan. It's like, all right, what the hell did I just do? Yeah, it's haunted him for 20 years, right? Like the images will never leave his mind. So I thought Nolan depicted the Cybertron beautifully, not too long, not too short, kind of like darkly lit. He didn't, nothing was glorious about it, which I appreciate. Like it was very, I think, realistically depicted and harrowing and scary. Not scary, but like well shot and darkly done.
Yeah. No, for sure. There's like, again, horror tones throughout the whole movie, with some action, the bit of suspense in there. Ludwig Göransson also, I haven't even really mentioned the music there. Not that we need to dwell on it really, but I thought an awesome, epic, and at times sinister score. And for me, it was the best usage of the music was at the end there, the final fight scene. It just helped to elevate tension, the drums beating faster and faster to show the urgency of everything happening there. Just unreal stuff. I mean, there's really not much to criticize about this movie. I think you're really looking, if you're overly critical of this movie, like if this really didn't do it for you, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on why. But I thought this was, again, like I said at the start, epic movie, start to finish, must see in theaters, and truly a treat that we got to see this story on the biggest screen in the time that we're alive, because it was, again, nothing that came out last year even sniffs this. For like, in terms of, there's some good movies last year, of course, but in terms of epic scale, we haven't seen a movie like this, in my opinion, again, since Dune 2, and there aren't that many movies that get made this big. And hey, if Dune 3 ends up being as good as I hope it is, like, we may have 2 of them this year, so, which is pretty wild to say. So that would be kind of all I have on Odyssey. Obviously, there's more stuff we could go over here, but we could be here for just under 3 hours if that was the case. So, yeah, that'd be my closing thought on Odyssey. Just, we're lucky to have seen this.
Yeah, I echo your thoughts on the music. Don't need to go in deeper. I think we'll be discussing this movie at the end of the year. Let's be real here. And you said it beautifully, Eric. It's such a treat to see this movie at the theater, and it's a movie where in 10, 20 years we're going to tell people like, yeah, like I saw that movie on IMAX when it came out in 2026. It was epic. Like, we're going to be lucky enough to tell people that. So well said, Eric. And yeah, we're definitely going to talk about it later this year, and we could have another epic movie, Villeneuve movie too, and to have a Nolan and a Villeneuve epic movie come out the same year. What a treat for us, Eric. But yeah, overall, love the movie. Can't wait to rewatch it. Barely anything wrong with it. Like, I don't have any complaints, honestly. Would love to rewatch it to get everything I missed, though. But yeah, loved it.
Nice. So yeah, no, our something we had prepared going into this episode too was just like another epic story of the scale of the Odyssey, maybe, that we would like to see put on the screen, and kind of, we've done this in the past there, but a fan cast maybe for that movie. So I've got my story ready. I'll really high level, not gonna get into crazy details there, but I can share mine first, Matt, and then we can go with yours. Okay. So the story that I would like to see put on the screen, which I don't know if there's actually been a movie that covers this. If so, I've missed it, but, and also we would need a modern remaking. So mine would be from John Milton, an epic story called Paradise Lost, which is, not sure if you know, it's the story of Adam and Eve and Satan. So it'd be the Garden of Eden, the fall of Lucifer to become Satan. You got God in there, his son, and it's a classic story. If any of my former university English literature professors are listening, you'll know that I used to cite this poem in almost every essay I had to write when I needed a reference. I was like, okay, Paradise Lost, find a quote about good and evil. Boom, that's a reference. So Paradise Lost, that's what I thought of pretty much right away. Okay. And I'll just give some high level, like, director. So there's a few, honestly, for a lot of these, there's a few different directions I could have gone, but I'm going to go with someone who, because this is a dark story and has proven that he can do, with a lot of action, has proven he can do dark tone, kind of eerie and epic, and a lot of good action. Now it'd be also developing his character as well. So I'm going with Matt Reeves here as the director.
Okay.
And then for score, I was gonna go Michael Giamatti. I forget his last name, but I'm gonna go with someone who's also had experience with epic scores for what could have been one of the best shows of all time, Ramin Djawadi, who's done the music for Game of Thrones. Like he did like the Night King song, stuff like that. Like he could give you that sinister, also uplifting music as well. Now, cast. I'll just give a few of the characters. So for Lucifer and Satan, this one I think is kind of typecast, honestly, and I'd be open to reworking this because he has played a character very similar to Satan, if you will, a fallen prospect with a lot of potential. So I'm gonna go with Jamie Campbell Bower, aka Vecna from Stranger Things. I think he could pull off that, he's one of God's favorite sons and then falls to temptation. And also a famous Satan quote, which is, this would be the tagline of the movie. And for the poster, I'm kind of envisioning just like the Garden of Eden on fire, but really faint in the background. It's like a red, orange, and black poster, but you can clearly see that the garden's on fire. And then you have the quote that says, well, the movie's called Paradise Lost, and the quote is, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. So that's the tagline for the movie, which is that's a fire quote right there. So that'd be, I don't know if Satan will actually say that line, but that's the tagline for the movie. Now, next few characters, Adam and Eve. I thought about this for a long time. I'm actually flipping both the actors I had chosen up until this morning. So for Adam, I'm gonna go Michael B. Jordan. I feel like he could pull off a good, really, this is a good guy, does not fall to temptation, just a good dude, and tries to, again, obviously it's Eve who falls there. And for Eve, I really wanted someone who has that look of innocence, but obviously succumbs to Satan's temptation. So I initially had Samara Weaving, who I feel like would actually be a great pick, but I'm going to go with someone who really looks innocent, in my opinion, and a great actress. Saoirse Ronan would be my Eve for this movie.
Like it.
Optional, if Saoirse Ronan can't play the part, Samara Weaving, we're giving you a call. So that's there. And then for Jesus is a character here. He's the Son of God. I actually had him as Adam initially, but I'm gonna go Jacob Elordi plays the Son of God.
No way.
So he might be on your list. Then we'll see how this goes.
You'll see.
And then for God, I feel like age-wise, this also works. One of my favorite working actors today, great voice, and we maybe age him up a little bit. Josh Brolin will play God.
Great.
And now, last one, Sin, who is Satan's daughter and also his lover, so it's kind of an interesting role there. And this one's off the board. Not seen this actress in much, and honestly never in a dramatic role like this, but I feel like she kind of has that look of tempting and playful. Could be good, but her nature will be evil here. Emily Bader, who is the girl in People We Meet on Vacation. I kind of would want to see her in this kind of dramatic role. Could be a breakout role for her. Those are my main characters outlined so far. Paradise Lost, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. That's my movie.
I love it. You're going to see a lot of weird similarities with my casting, Eric, and I'll get into it. It's kind of crazy that we're thinking the same way. Maybe movies we watched recently have influenced that.
Probably.
Yeah. I had Jacob Elordi as one of my characters, although I switched him after watching the Odyssey with someone else, and I'll get into that when I get into the characters. You put on a lot of thought though. That's awesome. I definitely have an idea too. It's definitely stuff. I'm just teasing right now. I'm just gonna go on and say. So my idea is an Arthurian Legends tale, like Camelot, like that world of King Arthur, but done through the eyes of Robert Eggers, who to me is the master at putting you in that setting and that time period with the dialogue, the authenticity, and it's going to be more of a horror, creepy feel than Hollywood Camelot, like the Clive Owen King Arthur movie. But it's definitely going to be all those characters that we know and love, but done more in a cult way where there's gonna be more magic and spells involved, witchcrafty, and you'll see what I mean when I introduce their characters. So Robert Eggers is going to direct this movie, and it's going to be dark and atmospheric, a la Northman or Nosferatu, and even his new movie Werewolf, which I'm guessing is going to be like right up like this movie I'm describing. So I don't really have I didn't think of like a title or a tagline, but you can call it just Camelot.
That's good.
Yeah. Anyways, but my characters are the interest. Like my casting's very risky, honestly. Like it's hinging on actors having a breakthrough performance into different, like kind of like your Emily Bader pick, which is so weird that you mention her. King Arthur was gonna be played by Jacob Elordi. It was done. I had him a lot. I even like scratched his name after watching the Odyssey, because now I want Robert Pattinson to play King Arthur. Nice. Because I feel like he can play any role. He's one of the best actors, one of the best up-and-coming actors. Not even up-and-coming now. He's been doing it for 20 years almost, and King Arthur in my story is gonna be like Macbethian, like where he starts off good, but he's kind of having crazy visions of himself dying and losing his mind and wants to get the Holy Grail. This is gonna be a Holy Grail quest where he's gonna already be thinking about his future and his legacy and himself dying. So he's going to be very coming in and out of trance like Macbeth, and I need someone like Robert Pattinson that can do that and really like normal one scene and then like crazy another, and like visions and hallucinations basically. So Robert Pattinson, King Arthur. Lancelot is going to be his best mate, who also loves King Arthur's wife. Like there's like a little triangle thing going there, but Lancelot's going to be played by Tom Blythe, who was with Emily Bader and People We Meet on Vacation.
Let's go.
The reason I picked Tom Blythe is I think he's got a lot of potential, and it was his eyes that made me want to cast him, because he can have like a creepy look sometimes or a very friendly look another, and I need Lancelot to be like that, where you don't know if he's going to be jealous of King Arthur in one scene or his best bud. So Tom Blythe, I think I see potential there. I have not seen him in the Hunger Games movie, but I'm sure he's good in that as well. Yeah. But I loved him in People We Meet on Vacation, as well as Emily Bader. Maybe we'll talk about the movie after. So Tom Blythe is Lancelot. Guinevere, who is going to be Arthur's wife, Lady Guinevere, is going to be played by Sophie Thatcher. She was in Heretic and Companion, two like horror movies from last year and the year before. I think she has the perfect look. She's going to be great. Then there's going to be a couple like wizards and there's going to be a wizard and a sorceress. So the wizard Merlin is going to be played by Ralph Ineson, who's a Robert Eggers specialty. He was the dad in The Witch. He was the hospital guy in Nosferatu, like one of the doctors. He's the voice of Galactus in the Fantastic Four movie last year. He has a great voice and presence. Yeah, he's in every Eggers movie. He'll be in this one. And then the antagonist of the story is going to be King Arthur's like half sister sorceress Morgan Le Fay. She is the one orchestrating all these illusions in Arthur's mind and tricking him. So she's going to be played by Rebecca Ferguson, who I absolutely adore and can play any role. And she's going to be creepy and mysterious. And I think she had the perfect look of a sorceress.
Yeah.
So Rebecca Ferguson. And then my last character is King Arthur's nephew. We're going to make him the nephew in this. Mordred. He's going to be played by Noah Jupe, who's the kid from A Quiet Place. And he's been in other things. I've seen him in other things, but he's the son in A Quiet Place. That's if you want to like look him up. Noah Jupe. He's going to be helping to foil King Arthur and usurp the throne. So that's the main plot of the movie. But this is going to be more of like a dark, stylistic art film by Robert Eggers with King Arthur played by Robert Pattinson. So yeah, I'll just stop right there. That's my vision right there for a mythological movie.
Yeah, I would see that movie 100%. Sounds great. I could totally see Robert Eggers directing a Camelot story. And I actually, funnily enough, also considered him for Paradise Lost. I think that's also right up his alley, right? Like taking that kind of story with that lore, right? More religious in this case. and important
Yeah.
to like people who truly devout Christians and everything there, but with some mythological and mythical aspects to it, right? Like going through like hell and everything there. So no, Eggers, I could see him dabbling in those worlds for sure, with some like gray muted tones, dark atmosphere, like for sure. No, I love that. And yeah, Pattinson, he's just the man right now. He's a
Right.
chameleon, right? He could play any kind of character, any role, creepy, charismatic, likable, whatever you want him to be, just evil. He can pull it off, and just wait for him in Dune 3. Like that's going to be a big role for him as well.
I can't
So
wait.
I'm excited for to see what else he's got in store. I think he has another movie out this year too. So guys, just he's on
Wow.
fire right now. Is one of the biggest names in Hollywood, and great call
Mhm.
to cash in on him for your lead. And also I could see Rebecca Ferguson kind of Doctor Sleep esque, right? Like she has played the
Yeah.
witch, and even in Dune she kind of has that kind of vibe. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Benny Gesserit. No, it's just fun to do. Like it's fun to do these kind of fan casts, right? And maybe will stuff into existence. Let's see a Robert Eggers Camelot story, a Matt Reeves Paradise Lost. You never know, right? We saw it with the drama back in 2022 when the theme was first discussed on somewhere. I forget where. But anyways, great stuff. Yeah, no, like I said, I would see both movies in a heartbeat. Yeah, anything else?
Yeah, Eric,
Go.
I love your idea too, Eric. I don't know anything about Paradise Lost, so you explaining that, I know much more now and very interested. Kind of want to read the poem or novel it is.
Yeah.
Like it's old, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's like Beowulf, right? Like that's an epic story written in
Okay.
prose, so it's kind of similar to that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we can get into actually for me, anyways. Segue from one epic conversation to the next with my first recommendation I want to make, which is a movie I watched yesterday. Took me damn near my entire afternoon and evening because I
Oh.
did have to pause a few times to eat and go to the washroom, do laundry, whatever you want to call it. And I finally, Matt, watched Seven Samurai last night. I was waiting for you to
Wow.
take a sip of water there to reveal the movie. But yeah, awesome movie. Big fan. Akira Kurosawa was the director of this movie. It's one of Akira Kurosawa. Yeah. One of the most famous movies of all time, right? That's an epic, right? Where it's a story we've seen retold so many times of the villagers in peril at the mercy of mountain bandits coming to steal their harvest. They have no means of defending themselves, so what do? They go to a nearby village and look to hire samurai to help them defend their village. And then they get trained by the samurai, they fight off the bandits. It's a classic story that, again, it's a classic trope in literature
Yeah.
and movie telling, TV shows, whatever. But no, I had obviously high expectations going into the movie, and this was like in the 50s, I want to say. This came out in 1954. And while obviously, yeah, it does look old and the action scenes aren't anything to write home about, they still hit when the deaths happen and the
Yeah.
the build-ups, everything, the strategizing, and just the look of the movie. I talk about, again, with Nolan on the ship, you feel like you're there with the crew. It's kind of a similar feeling where everything is immersive in this movie. There's a lot of rain scenes. People are fighting in mud. You see the mud splashing, the horses trotting everywhere. You kind of just feel like you're there with the characters. You feel when things happen. And it's just really an epic ride. Did it need to be this long? Maybe not. It comes into like 3.5 hours. So it's a long movie, but it also makes you feel for these characters more and understand where they're coming from, their backstory, and why they act a certain way. This story has been told in like a Mandalorian episode in season 1, right? Where that was done in 30 or so minutes. Sure, it's the same concept, but you're not attached to any of these villagers more than that, or you don't care if some people live or die. Whereas in this one, you really do
Yeah.
more, and it was an epic movie. I'm glad I watched it, and it just felt like the movie to watch coming off of the Odyssey day after. I'm really glad I watched it, so thank you for lending it to me, Matt. And definitely, yeah, Seven Samurai, Japanese movie, but an important one to watch, especially if you like movies. It's yeah, an influential movie. It's a classic.
Oh, Eric, I'm so happy to hear you say this, that you loved it. And Kurosawa was like the Nolan in the 1950s in Japan. Like the filmmaking aspect, the storytelling was unreal. obviously no CGI, like all extras, and the scale of this movie was unreal. I just quick, like the fighting in the rain near the end was, I just remember that scene, like, was epic. Just like rain pouring down and they're fighting, and yeah, the fighting's nothing to write home about because it looks like kind of sped up on film, but like the rejected samurai at the beginning who like joins them, like he's one of the most famous actors of all time in Japan. And he's great. He's over the top, but he's legendary because he's over the top and like a towering presence in cinema. And like his character arc is insane and is sad too. That's awesome.
It's funny too.
Like Obi-Wan in Star Wars, eh? That Japanese actor Toshiro Mifune, that always wanted to play Obi-Wan in '77, but he said no, and so they got Alec Guinness. Can you imagine?
No way.
That would change the whole scene. Because Star Wars is inspired by Kurosawa movies, right? So, yeah. Anyways, no, Eric, I'm glad you loved it, and did not expect to be talking about Seven Samurai today, so that's awesome. I don't know, poster. I think it's epic.
Oh yeah.
I watch People We Meet on Vacation on Netflix, which honestly you described it beautifully to me, Eric, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's a rom-com, but like a little comedy too. It wasn't too much either. Romance, like it had the perfect blend. Emily Maynard, Tom Blythe. What kept me engaged the whole movie for the 2 hours was the going back and forth, the flashbacks basically, and at present time going back and forth kept the movie for me really fresh and never boring. And I love to have the I love the conclusion of the movie too. So I recommend it to everyone. People We Meet on Vacation on Netflix. Really good acting. Emily Baker, you who she was. You said it first, Eric. She was great in it. I agree. And Tom Blythe too was really good. But she's really the star of the movie. She makes the movie.
Agreed.
One part of the movie is not what it is.
Completely agreed.
Yeah, she kills that role. So, yeah. People Meet on Vacation. That's my first recommendation. It was really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, next recommendation. I don't have too much to say. I guess Seven Samurai was my big one, and I don't have a whole lot.
Yeah, I only had Project Hail Mary, but you've already watched it. Just want to say it is awesome, and people should watch that too.
Nice. I'll actually throw one thing in real quick. An album called Socket to My Pocket by Rome Streets. I don't know if you checked this out, Matt. Super good album. I would definitely recommend. It's like a hardcore, like drug dealer rap, I'd say. Rome Streets, if you're familiar with his music. It's a similar vibe that he's had for multiple albums there, but Socket to My Pocket, really good stuff. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I downloaded it, but I'll check it out tomorrow or today or something.
Would recommend.
So, awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I've got. We already talked about a lot about we gave a full rundown too, so of the Odyssey. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good where we are, Eric.
Awesome. Yeah, same here. A lot of fun going over the Odyssey with you, Matt. Again, 100% not the last time we're going to be talking about this on the pod. Like I said, I'm going to rewatch it in the next few weeks. I kind of wanted to go yesterday, but I was like, all right, I also want to let this breathe and enjoy it in like 2 weeks from now kind of thing. But no, I'll be seeing it again in theaters for sure. But yeah, no, a lot of fun, Matt. Any final notes for the listeners?
Yeah, thank you everybody for listening to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive on the Odyssey. Eric, I had a lot of fun talking with you about the movie. You made so many good points. Yeah, thank you everybody for listening to the podcast, and we hope you I'm hoping you're having a great summer right now and enjoy.
Well said, Matt. So yeah, thanks a lot everybody for listening. Stay tuned for episodes dropping every 2 Mondays. Continue to enjoy your summer, and go see the Odyssey if you haven't, and or go see it again. Peace.